Now we are starting module 5. In this module, we will create another animation, basically like a short film for Porsche, and after that, we will set up renders in Lumen and path tracing. What is the difference? Also, we'll prepare the renders for stills in Photoshop and working with this in DaVinci Resolve 2, talk about color space setup and how to make those renders look as they used to or as they should be in DaVinci Resolve. So let's start with this animating process. So you will get more insight on my workflow, how to make the animations of the cars and basically the cameras, because this one, like repeating the process, is really nice thing to do and will give you more insight on the working process and pipeline. So for this animatic or animation, I will be using two different environments which we already created. So this one, the simple one, really like just empty, I would say like garage some sort, and we will also use our tunnel. So let's first start, because here will be only static cameras. If you watch any like commercials or car commercials, you will see that most of these videos are combining actually like the static shots and movement shots, like high dynamic shots, because you need to see like the shapes of the car, like key differences. Like for example, for the GT3 version, we have like this spoiler, it's 4-liter engine, like those parts can be shown, so you can play around with there. And also the dynamic shots showing the driving, that is done mostly for sports cars. For city cars, they are just like showing the car standing on the parking lot and or in some like really beautiful environment, and just slow driving in the city, or if it's like outdoor car, like in some terrain. So let's start with the tunnel, which we already created in our tunnel scene. So let's see what we have here. Let me just remove this spotlight, and in this environment, what I would like to render or what I would like to make, that the car is just like driving in the tunnel, and then the like racing version, you know, encounters this one, the GT3, and they start racing each other a little bit. First of all, let's disable some scalability settings, because we don't need like cinematic quality for now, so we'll have a little bit more of FPS and working with that one. And also let's probably disable the post-process volume, as there are some settings which bump up the quality really high, and you see like the difference, right, between the reflections and so on. So that might affect the performance while we're working on that one. So let's just add another section of our tunnel. Let's lock the grid so we can move it, and by holding Alt, I'll just duplicate this tunnel, because I would like to have a little bit more of space for playing around. Again, I'll be utilizing my approach with the subsequences, and for the beginning probably we would need to completely hide our sun, so there will be just dark here, and we will not be able to see what is happening there, because I don't want really to have any sort of light interfere into our scene. So I'll just move the sun out of the frame, and our skylight will be just pitch black. So I think this one is fine, and this part of the tunnel is really what I would like to do, which I would like to use. Also, just for your notice, this blueprint, it contains some additional like rectangle lights, which, as I again say, you need to support emissive lights with some real lights, and those rectangle lights are supported on the one side. Here I don't have it, but you can go into the blueprint and duplicate them. But this side will be much darker and probably not looking that good or in terms of reflection, because this one really gives some additional reflection and bounces. Okay, so I will leave one of those parts here and start probably some over there. So one part will be just like, you know, the tunnel into the depths, into the void, right? So you can even prolong that, or you can like just take the screenshot and put the plane with the screenshot on the back, so you will have the illusion of the infinite tunnel that will help you to save some FPS during the work and maybe during the render times. So let's go to our rig blueprints and put the path somewhere over here. Put it on the ground. You can click end on your keyboard to snap it to the ground, but probably right now it can't define. But usually if you have like some static mesh, it will drop right into that if you click end on your keyboard. Okay, let's just lock the angle rotation too and move it 180 degrees. Disable all of those right now. And for this purpose, you can go different ways. As I already mentioned, you can use different spline like position, or you can just draw a spline, put multiple cars in one spline, and just use this spline side offset for some sort of racing or car moving out of the frame. So yeah, this is how we're gonna do that. So basically I will just create a spline. It will be just straight, but we will be able still to animate our car pretty easily. So now I will create in our sequences folder, I will create new folder and name it tunnel. There I will be having my shots here, which will be cinematics, level sequence, ls, tunnel, shot 001. I open the shot, create the camera, because I would like to not to do any changes afterwards. I'll just set up my camera and I will duplicate the sequence, set 24 FPS in my post-processing volume. I need to set the shutter to 48, so it will be twice, like 180 degrees, just like in the real camera. I'll enable my post-process volume right now because I would need to set up the exposure, so it will not give me like some sort of unexpected result. I think this slide also is unnecessary for now. Yes, okay, and let me set up the exposure settings and all of that's in the camera. So I would like to go with something wide open aperture like 1.8 because we need more light approaching to our camera sensor, and we will again make the anamorphic sort of look. So we go to sequence, squeeze factor, I'm sorry. So squeeze factor 2, squeeze depth of field squeeze factor 2, and we will change the sensor size. So because right now it's super wide, it's not what we would like to have. We would like to have something like 2 by 35, and we need to change our sensor size. So I'll just type sensor and multiply height by 1.5, and in that case we will get this nice like wide look, but still that would be full HD resolution like 1220 by 810, and that will be a proper like aspect ratio for this sort of animation. And in the camera I also set the exposure to manual. Remember, when you try to do that for some reason in when you are in camera and you click on manual, it just drops the menu and deselects your cinema camera actor. So you need just to get out of the cinema camera actor, set it to manual, then you can jump back in, and let's set up something like 8, maybe 8.5. That will probably work. Okay, because we have also some settings in post-processing volume. So right now we have our car, our light. Let's adjust probably a little bit of those lights so we will have it properly placed. Also, let's check the channel, because yes, that's the channel 1, because I don't want it to affect the car, and maybe move it out a little bit so it will give us like nice lens flare when we look into that. So let's move a little bit outside. Yeah, there's some nice lens flares and lens dirt, which we have here. Same with this one. It's actually strange that why this one is so bright and actually gives me what I want, but this one doesn't. Maybe because this one is not set to movable, because we need to change it to movable. Yes. And the light strength is fine. 82 by 82. Attention radius 450. This one is 2. Should be 450. And source radius 5. This one. Source radius also should be 5 for this like bright thing. Okay. I think that looks kind of cool, so I'll keep it just that way. I'll try again not to spend a lot of your time with adjusting those. Ah, okay, I see now. That's the thing, it's just right behind the glass. It was reflecting from something. Yep. That is reflecting something, so basically there is something which reflects it. Ah, here we go. Okay, cool. Nothing is blocking the way right now. Okay, that is fine, just because I want to make some camera which will be just like passing by, like in the front of the lens and so on and so on. So yeah, this one looks, I guess, okay. This on the back, maybe I will just reduce the intensity to something like 2 or 1, so it will not be, you know, that super bright like this. And currently we can add our spline to this sequence at path. Oh, no, not this, not in this sequence. Okay, this one will save because I've set the camera, I've set the exposure just as I like, and that should be okay. Now we can save this sequence. Let's create the new level sequence, which will be subsequence, tunnel drive. Okay. This one should be also 24 FPS, so the sequences are matching. Select this path, add it to the sequencer, add our car into sequencer. I hope that if you move that, yes, it moves with all. Like for this purpose, like those are attached to our blueprint rig, but sometimes they can be unlinked, and better way is just to move them also to the sequencer and basically attach them in the sequencer, because I don't trust this method. But for now, as long as it works, I think it is fine. So let's try and add it to path. Remember, select the second one because the first one is something different, and select the BP path, and it will just go right in the beginning, right? So here it is. Okay, good. And we will animate driving right now, and we will introduce the second car afterwards. So let's make distance traveled. Probably I want this to last, I don't know, let's see. We just need to, you know, check that, how that looks like. So linear, we'll go there afterwards to the last frame, set the keyframe, set it also to linear, and just like move it to the very end of our path. Also, if you select the path, it will show you the current distance, which is current length, which is 24. So let's move it like until last 24,000. Now let's see how fast it goes. Probably it can be super fast, and we can check the speed if we hit play. Nope, it's actually not that fast, just 60 kilometers. But we want something faster, obviously. So let's go with a maybe a little bit faster. 92, still too slow. Let's see what we have here. 130. 130 seems fast, like especially driving in the tunnel. I think that's okay to have it like this. Let's go to the last frame. What I like also to just to exclude the very last frame and the very first one, because if you have this one and you will have this first frame starting, the car will the first frame will be rendered without motion blur. Like basically the car will be static and then it goes. So yeah, like this is better. Okay, now we need to introduce our second car. Let's go to car rigs, blueprints, and get our like version. For this one, I will not be using auto pitch, so I set this to 0. This one should be 0 too, correct. Add actor to sequence and also add path and also attach it to the same path. This car will be basically reaching out to ours, so let it stand for a little while. So let's also add distance traveled. We'll add this one here also to the frame 0. I was too quick with this one. Okay, so this one goes, this one stands for a little bit, and then it will be approaching, and on the last frame, here we go, we'll add this one. We can actually do some like racing or something, so it will be standing, then it will be approaching, so really close to our car here, and just move it so it will be right there, like really close. Let's see how it goes. Okay, and then it will bounce back, obviously, because we have the same early position. Then probably at some point right here, I would like it to overtake our car and move it like here. See, nice thing also like do that. It has the bounce of the light. And then we can go to the last frame, and this one will be overtaken like completely. So we need to get to the very last point. Let's see where it is. So it will be a little bit further than our main car. Let's just select our path, last point, and move this last point a little bit longer. You see, it just increases the distance, but this car will not be going anywhere. It just stands there, and then it just like overtakes it. So something like that. And if we have a look at this like rivalry, okay, this overpass here, then they're going almost at the same speed, but this version is going faster. And right now we can do some side offsets and so on. So let's do this for our first car. So it will be driving a little bit. Then this one comes. And when it starts overtaking, probably for this one, we would need to make it cubic, so it will be going smoother. And then just like slingshot overtake. But we need our car to move to the side. So this car will start moving to the side, somewhere over here. And for that one, we will use side pass side offset. Let it be a little bit earlier here, because we need to check what is the speed, how fast that is going to happen. Probably to avoid collision, we need to do this. And let's see, and move it to some side. I think to the left will be just fine. And I want the car just to path it so close that they almost, hit each other, but it's like super close. So maybe even a little bit just more like this. And when they path, just like I want to, add some dynamics here, which is gonna be insane. I know that's like super tight shot, because like the GT3 drivers, they're assholes. They're just driving like maniacs. And I think this one is just like the perfect example of this thing. And this one is just like, now let's check out the speed, how our car moves to the side. If it's like super fast, no, it's unreal. So we should make it a little bit wider for this thing. Okay. And for that maneuver, we obviously can do separate lines, separate paths, and just animate these curves, but that would be a little bit harder to align in afterwards. So we should look at this like that. Okay, and then this car passes. They don't touch each other. Everything goes well. And they just like passing by. Okay. Also, for this maneuver, we can add a little bit of whole car rotation. Whole car rotation, which also starts a little bit before. Place it here, then somewhere over there. Probably we don't need much, we just need a little when it's already started moving, right? So it's just like, oh, that looks much more realistic, right? Because it does some turn. Then it keeps this angle here, and when it returns to the proper position, we can set this one back to 0. Can probably add even more, and then it aligns back. We can even add maybe some bit of wobble, so it just like goes a little bit this way, and after that it is 0 again. So it wobbles a little bit. So feel in the danger. And this one will be just an asshole here. So, and this one is a proper driver. So this one will be using the turn signals. This one probably even doesn't have them, because what for? And here we'll just add our turn left. Turn left. There it is disabled. Then it is enabled. It's turning on the left, showing with the signal. Moving away. And there we can turn it off. So probably, yeah, at this place, turn off. We always can readjust those settings, but I think for now that looks really cool. And this one will be turning on his daylights when we can see him. So you're just like driving like this. Hop, and here it turns on the daylights. Daylights. Here it's turned off. From this point actually it should be turned on, and here it's turned off. Here we turn it on. Right? I think looks cool, but we also need to add him those things. So let's save this one for now, close it, and pick the spotlights. This one, which we have the beams, Alt and move them, and connect them to our GT3 and move them there. Yes, like this. Maybe a little bit, yes. Missed it a little bit. Yeah, as you can see, it doesn't have those beams here. So let's give them to him too. So just Alt, move it like this. Obviously change it to movable. And attach them to this guy. Move it probably there. So it will also cast some light on our usual version. And as we had this one in the cinematics in our sequence, subsequence, that it just like drives there and then it turns on the lights, daylights. So we need to add all our these things, add 4 actors, and also animate the intensity. So let's hit intensity for each of them. And here, when the lights are turned, probably 1 frame before. Sorry, just like made a little mistake, but doesn't matter. We can fix that. And on the next frame, when he turns on the lights, the daylights, we set up the intensity here to our desired values. But there, in this, all of those, like let's delete these ones because we don't want them. Delete them. Those keyframes, and for these ones the intensity should be set to 0. If you select all of the keyframes and change the one parameter, all of them will be 0, and then bam, he turns them on. So something like that. Now for each of them we should add some vibrations, body vibrations, because the road, even though here it is like completely flat, the road is never flat. So let's add some body vibration. Overall multiplier 1, and for this one too. And this one I would like to get with something like roll vibration, speed 1.5. So we have this little bit of bouncing, maybe even 2. The speed is really high, and this one also should have roll vibration, speed 1.5, roll vibration and height vibration speed. So it will go up and down. For the wheels, it's fine, but maybe a little bit faster. So wheel speed vibration, maybe 6 or 7. And this one, let it be also like wheel vibration speed, maybe 10. Yeah. It's barely noticeable, but it's definitely given this feeling of realism here. Okay, so we've done our animation, our subsequence, and now we can do any sort of animation. We can even disable some of the cars there. Also, I would like to have it break at some point just a little bit. So this one too. Okay, this one will be breaking a little bit, just to, you know, showcase our functionality. So brake, then it turns on the brake, and then it turns off the brake. And because he's braking, this guy doesn't know what's happening. So we also that brake, and it will be braking just like this one. At this point, this one will also brake, but a little bit later. This one turns it off, and this one turns it off too, like this. Like short brake. Like this. See? Something is happening there. Cool. Just, you know, adding some action in this particular scenario. Okay. I think for this one is done.